Okay, we're going to go over the operation of the economy chuck capper. When you fire up the machine, this will be the first screen that you come across in the main screen here. A couple things to go over on the left-hand side are your master switches. The top cycle button will put the machine into cycle mode, and the capper button will turn off the capper operation, and the conveyor will turn off the conveyor operation. These three switches here will override anything that you have set anywhere else in the program. So if you turn the capper off here, the capper doesn't work even if you have it turned on during the setup mode. Same thing with the conveyor. This screen also shows your in-feed container count. So this will show the active count during an automated cycle. The containers per minute will give you the containers per minute count from the previous completed cycle, and it'll reset after each cycle. If you have any alarms, they'll be displayed in red here at the bottom, and you can clear them with the reset alarm button. Most of the alarms self-clear after the issue is resolved. If you click the setup tab at the top, it brings you to the machine setup screen. A couple of options here are your indexing mode. I can cycle through this indexing mode to pin, to star wheel, or to off. I can set locate to on, auto, or off. The top of the screen shows us a couple of tabs to take us back to the main screen, our ASU, our IO screen, and our login screen. So there's nothing located inside the login screen other than the option to delete all recipes, where you can reset your recipes back to default. If you come back to the main tab and go back into our setup mode, this will bring us back. We can show you the IO screen. This is going to be useful for during diagnostics. You can see any inputs or outputs that are happening, and you can reference on your schematics as to which input or output is what you're looking for. If I push the setup, this will take me back to the setup screen. I can come to the ASU tab. This is going to be for setting up my automatic setup for my indexing timing. There's a walkthrough video on how to run that, which will give you the walkthroughs. Essentially, you're going to set your container count, and you're going to set up all your mechanical indexing. You're going to bring containers up to the entry pin. You'll hit Start ASU Index. It'll retract the indexing entry pin, turn on the conveyor, move the containers to the exit pin, and then it will read that amount of time. And then you'll just hit the save button. If something did not go correctly, you'll just hit clear. It'll clear out your timers and you can restart. Going back to the setup tab at the top, we can go back to our main.
All right, so the first thing is the thick climb.
The next tab over here is our manual tab. This is going to be for setup or diagnostics. It'll allow you to manually toggle any operation in the machine. So you can manually toggle your conveyor button from auto to run here. This is the only button that when you leave this screen, it stays in this state. All of the rest of these, if I activate them from this screen, it'll activate, and then when I leave this screen, it resets to auto. If I go back to main, I can then move on to my timers screen. Through all these timers, they're going to give you a couple of things. Entry delay will be the size of the gap between the old containers that are container capped leaving and the new one coming in. 2 seconds is a default. In-feed count will be the number of containers that the in-feed count sensor needs to count to move into the capping zone. The count sensor on delay is how long something has to sit in front of this sensor for it to move on in the process. This is usually utilized to get rid of flickering bottles with glass containers. Exit duration is the amount of time that is set during that automatic setup. So that's the amount of time it takes the container to move from the entry pin to the exit pin. The capper dive delay. This can be after your containers are indexed in. How long does it wait before the capper dives down onto the container? Capping duration is going to be how long Does the capper actually sit on top of the cap, attempting to tighten it? If I hit next, it brings me to the next. Exit retract delay in new cycle. This will be how long after the capping process is completed before the exit pin retracts to allow the container to leave. This is usually set to half to 1 second to give enough time for the chuck capper to get up out of the way so it doesn't knock the container backwards when it leaves. Backup on delay. This is going to be how long a container has to sit in front of the line backup sensor before it causes a fault. And the cycle reset delay will be how long does it wait after it's completed its cycle before it continues on to the next. Often you'll use this to slow this piece of equipment down for slower equipment down the line. If I go back to the main, we can move on to the recipe tab. Within the recipe tab, I have 10 recipes that I can save. So once I get all my timers and set up working on my containers, I can come in here and I can select which recipe number I would like. Say recipe 1, and then I can save this for use later, or I can select this recipe and I can load it for use now.